To get started on this exercise, you should have downloaded the Text Animation Preset folder, and inside of this folder is another folder for some footage of a tunnel movie that we're going to be using at the end of this exercise. To get started, the first thing we're going to do is launch After Effects and create a new composition from scratch. The name of this composition is going to be Vertigo Text. The size of it can be a preset of HDV or HDTV 720 with a frame rate of, there it is, 29.97. The duration of this is going to be set to 5 seconds, and we're going to keep the background black for now. We'll say OK. Let's choose our Type tool from the top of our tool panel. Click once in the center of your document and type the word Vertigo. Since I'm using a dark font, I'm going to select my font and go over to my Type, and I'm going to change the fill color for now to be just a solid white. And also, at the bottom of my Properties panel, I'm going to scroll down and make sure I'm working in Center Text mode. The last thing that I'll do is to reset my tracking, if not done already, to be 0 so that it spreads our letters out. If you need to, you can use your selection tool and move it over to be centered. Now we want to be able to change the font to a font that's not already installed on my system. In order to do this, we're going to leverage Adobe's Typekit set of fonts. You can go up to File and down to Add Fonts from Adobe. This is formally known as Typekit. So in the book, if you see it mentioned Typekit or adding fonts from Typekit, this is what it's looking like. There's a good chance that what's in the book and what you're seeing on your screen is going to be very different, even if it updates from what's on my screen. The main thing about using Typekit is this allows you to quickly and easily search for a variety of different styles and classification and properties of fonts. Adobe has thousands of fonts to be able to choose from. One of the things you can do to be able to see the fonts, besides just seeing a simple little preview, is you can also type in the word. So in my case, since we're using the word Vertigo, I'm going to type in Vertigo at the top, and now you can see what the word will look like if it was chosen in all the different fonts. To be able to see these easily, do make sure you're working in a large grid mode. And over on the side, we can sort these by their name. And you can change the size of the text to be larger or smaller so that it fits on your screen as well. The next thing we can do is to look over on the left-hand side, and scrolling through, we can sort it by the languages. I'm going to keep it in all language. We'll go down. You can see there's a variety of different tags. But down towards the bottom, we specifically want to find a sans serif font. So by clicking on the first one, going down to the properties, we're going to set the weight of it to be medium, so the middle G, with a medium contrast, and also a large X height. Doing this will easily and quickly sort through all of the other fonts so that you can find the ones that we're looking for. The goal of this project is to have kind of a retro looking style, and we're looking for Bailiwick JG Gothic. Since these are in alphabetical order, here it is right here. To start using this font, all you have to do is click Add Family, and this is going to ask you to manage your fonts using the Creative Cloud app, which is okay. We'll say Open the app, and once Creative Cloud launches, the fonts are located in the top right-hand corner with the fancy little F up here. Here we can see the Bailiwick JG Gothic is at the top of our added fonts, and we can tell it to install the font family. This may take just a moment to install the entire font family, but once it's installed, we can now jump back into After Effects. With the type layer selected, let's go back up to our Properties panel and type in Bailiwick, and you can start using this font. We're going to set the size of this font to be 150 pixels tall, and to make sure that it's perfectly centered inside of your screen, open the Align panel. If you don't see the Align panel over on the side, you can always go up to Window and down to Align to open it up. In my case, it just closed it. There we go. With the Align panel open, make sure that you have the options open, and we're going to align this to the entire composition. With that layer selected, you can click on the center alignment and then the horizontal alignment. And this will line it up perfectly center, both horizontally and vertically. Now let's animate the text. We can go to our Effects and Presets panel, twirl open your animation presets. These are some predefined animations that you can automatically apply to different layers. We'll open up the Text subfolder and the Animate In subfolder. And you can see there's a lot of different ones that we can add just for this one. We're going to select the center spiral and then drag it onto our vertigo layer. Now, if you notice that your text disappears, don't freak out. That's simply because this animation is at the starting point. If we go to our little preview panel and hit play, this will give you an idea of what it looks like. Now, if you ever want to see any of these presets before you apply them, you can always go to your Effects and Presets panel and click on the Options and choose Browse Presets. This is going to launch Adobe Bridge, which is a completely separate program. And if you don't have it installed on your computer, then it won't open. But with it open, this will open up all of the subfolders for your presets. Here's where we can choose the text folder. Ours was located in Animate In. And when you select any one of these, this will give you a preview of what that animation will look like. And it's a great, simple way to see what the effects will look like before having to actually apply it and render it in After Effects. Since we've already got ours applied, we can simply jump back into After Effects and continue on. If we go down to our timeline, we can twirl open Vertigo, and we can open up the text animators, and you can see where these spiral animators have been added to our design. If we open up the spiral properties, you can see the entire range and how this was set up for the starting points and ending points, and also the keyframes that are set along your timeline as well. This is showing you that if you ever need to make changes to the timing of this, you can open up these properties and automatically make changes and customize it however you see fit. If we ever want to add more properties to the spiral effect, you can click on the word Add, and we're going to add another property. In our case, let's add some scaling to this already set rotation. I'm going to bring my playhead all the way back to the 0 starting point. Whoop, there we go, scaling down. And in the scale property, with it added to there, we're going to click the stopwatch and add a starting keyframe at 0, 0. And we're going to scrub this scale effect all the way up to be about 500%. So it'll be super large once it starts. If it's off by a little bit, that's okay. Right at 500, right there. With it starting so large, let's bring our playhead all the way over to 4 seconds, which is right about here. And let's have it scale downward now back to 100%. So I typed in 100 next to scale. Now when it animates, you can see how it's going to scale all the way down to here. To make the rotation also end right as the scaling is ending right at 4 seconds, let's choose this last keyframe under the rotate timeline, and let's drag it over until it also ends at 4 seconds. Now when we play it, the rotation and the scaling all end at the same time. To make this flow nicely, I'm going to select all of the keyframes for both the scale and rotation. And we'll add some easy ease by going up to Animation, down to the Keyframe Assistant, and choose Easy Ease. The final thing our composition needs to have is some motion blur. As it's moving around, it's rendering nicely, but if these were really moving fast, it would be blurring by. To easily render this, let's go to the very top of our timeline. Scrolling to the top, I can close everything down. Clicking this option with the circle and the multiple circles underneath it adds motion blur to any animation that you've created. Now if I was to back up and hit play, you can see not only is it rotating, but it's adding a slight blur in the direction that it's moving. As everything comes to a stop, then it hits there. Looking great. The final thing we need to do is to add that background movie to our final design. To import the footage, let's go to our project panel and double-click the empty area. You can open up the footage folder and choose the tunnel movie, and we're going to import this now simply as its own footage. And we'll say OK to this. With this done, you can click and drag the tunnel movie to the bottom of your screen. And notice that it's underneath the Vertigo timeline. Now when I back up and I play, the movie is playing underneath the word Vertigo, which is set from here. With that done, we can go to File and save our composition. If you haven't done it already, you need to make sure your name is on this composition for your After Effects file. And let's also render it by going to File and Export and add it to the render queue. Down at the very bottom, make sure it's set to best settings for high quality mode. Set your output to, and you know where it's going to be saving to. In my case, I'm going to save it to the desktop. I'm going to add my name to it as well. Format's going to be a movie. Hit save and render, and upload this final rendered movie and the After Effects file to the Canvas page.